Hey, students of functions, let's jump into the do now. So I got two graphs, same questions for both. Is this a function? I'll let you pause the video and answer for yourself. Hey, thanks for unpausing me. So this first one, if I move my vertical line across this graph, I can see that the vertical line will at the most touch one dot at a time. And that is a function. Every input or x coordinate has one output, y coordinate. If we move this to the second graph, here I hit one dot, no dots. Two dots at the same time, that's a problem. That means for the input of two, I got two different outputs. I got an output of two and also an output of four. And that is not okay, according to the definition of a function. So this one is not a function. The graph hits the vertical line in more than one place at a time. All right, hey, so the lesson for today is identifying domain and range of a function. There's a whole bunch of stuff we had to learn about functions, and today we'll just focus on domain and range. So there's some vocabulary words. Domain is a math word that means the set of input values. And we know from on a graph, input is going to be the x coordinate. Set is basically the same thing as a list. It's a type of group, but we're in a list. And in math, in order to say this is a set as opposed to just an ordinary list, it uses this special symbol, curly braces, and then whatever the input values of the problem are, those x coordinates, we would list inside those curly brackets. As many x coordinates as we have go inside of there. Okay, for the range, it is the set of output values or y coordinates. And so since this also is a set, we're going to use these curly brackets and we'd put all of the y values in here. However many of them there are, we list them all in there. Okay, so vocabulary, that's it for vocabulary. Here's a quick trick to help us remember, because all of these things kind of are, it's like a whole bunch of words, and we got to keep track of, like, I don't know which word was which. I know that the domain and the range were like those lists of numbers, right? But how do I know which one is which? If someone just came up to you and said, like, pop quiz, which one is the range? You'd be like, I don't know, the X, the Y. So here's how you can remember. Domain and range, those are the two vocabulary words. Let's look at the first letter. Those go in alphabetical order. D comes before R. Okay, so domain is going to be first. And then let's look at the input and output. Those words are paired together. Input starts with an I, output with an O. I comes first in the alphabet, so that's the same order. Input comes before output. Domain, the D comes before the R. And X and Y, those are like paired together. And in the alphabet, X comes first, Y comes second. So if we can remember any of these paired words, either domain and range, input, output, X and Y, it's always going to go in alphabetical order, and these always match. So the D, the I, the X, those come before their counterparts, the R, the O, and the Y. So maybe that'll be a trick you can use to remember which one is which. Otherwise, you're always like, I don't know which one that is. And that's not a good idea. Okay, so let's do a couple of quick examples here. Here's this graph from the do now. We already said that this one is a function, but now we're going to do the domain and the range. Switch colors. Turn that one into red because I want to use green for domain. Okay, here we go. So the domain is the x coordinates. So I know I'm going to need curly brackets, and then I'm just looking for the x values of each of these points across the graph. So x is going to be the numbers that go across, and not all the numbers are filled in down there, but I know it's going to count by one because every other number is labeled, and so 1, 3, 5 has to come in the middle there. So this first point here, this is 1. It's the x coordinate. This next point here, I already colored that one in. That's at 2. Next one is 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6. That's a pretty boring list. It just goes in order from 1 to 6. Okay, so then the range, I need curly brackets. And for the range, this one is a y coordinate of 3. I should say, first of all, the y coordinates are always the ones that go up the side, this up and down on the graph. It is labeled with a y also. So this first point is a 3, got a y coordinate of 3. Next point has a y coordinate of 5. And then the point after that is 3, and then 5, and then 3, and then 5. One of the cool things about set notation with these curly brackets is I do not need to list the same number more than once. So I don't have to put a whole bunch of 3s and a whole bunch of 5s. I just need to write each of those numbers one time. That is my whole entire set. So there are several different points that all have that same y coordinate of 3. There are several different points that all have that y coordinate of 5. It doesn't matter how many points, even if this is like a bigger graph with even more points at those same heights. It doesn't matter. That's all I need to write for my range is just the 3 and the 5. Okay, let's do a second example where the original function is given to us as a set. So the relation is given to us as a set up here inside curly brackets, but inside these curly brackets are some ordered pairs. So I have an x coordinate and a y coordinate followed by another x and a y, followed by another x and a y. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this highlighter because I want to be able to write where we can see it. So write my answer as a list enclosing curly brackets. Order does not matter. Great. So here's the domain. Okay, so I need curly brackets. I'm just going to write those down first. And then I'm looking for the x coordinates out of that relation. So 13, negative 11, and 10. Okay. So order does not matter. What it means when it says order in the directions right here is it's talking about from least to greatest. Right? We do not need to put them in least to greatest. Sometimes that is a thing that is important, and we do pay attention to that in other situations. For now, we don't need to worry about going least to greatest. You could do it if you want, it'd be fabulous, but you don't need to. Okay, how about the range? So I got my curly brackets, and then I'm just looking for the y coordinates. So I've got 4, negative 11, and 1. All right, that's that. Okay, you're off to the races, domain and range.